Inspired by my ancestors who no longer here. Their spirit lives inside of us, it didn't disappear. I just do this out of love, I don't do this out of fear. Liberation looking radical and queer, ayy.
Welcome back to Mitigation Media. I'm your host, Dustin. This is part 2 of my conversation with Buddha G, aka Greg. Just a heads up, there are some connection issues that affect Greg's audio a few times, but all the ideas and stories still come through, so I hope you enjoy.
I feel like I've been all over the place.
In a good way. I think in a good way. I think we hit a lot of interesting and good stuff. And I think I want to hit on about like you as an artist, right? I think, you have put out music, you haven't put out music. Where are you as an artist? Where do you see yourself as an artist?
I'm trying to embrace the identity of an artist. I don't know what that is because I was born and raised middle class, and so I was told to go get an education and go get a job and shit. So music and all these types of things that I was kind of born wanting to do, it was always kind of well, I can't really focus on learning now. I got to go do this other thing. So that's how art has always been in me. And then the pandemic hit, and but throughout, probably since college, I've been making music. I put a mixtape out on Bandcamp 10 years ago. I created a whole album that was basically finished a few years ago, but it always feels like some new comes up and knocks me off my pivot, and then I got to deal with that shit. But I also think the universe conspires in interesting ways. There's been a lot of shit I've had to fucking navigate, a lot of fucking shit storms and shadow moments and things to work through. And I think that, that's a lot of what I put in my artistry and what I put in my music. It's so much of music and tells a story of trauma and going through it. But then I was I want to try to tell that story and then talk about the possibilities of healing as well. And I also feel with the fucking industry crumbling and Diddy and Drake's and Weinstein's and Epstein's and all this type of shit and all the facade that the entertainment industry has upheld, the entertainment distraction aspect of capitalism, is crumbling in front of our faces in the moment. Maybe that's what the universe was conspired. Wait till motherfuckers is ready to hear shit like that. It's because it did feel I'm 40 now. It felt like my whole life since high school I've been fighting against a mainstream that wanted to identify music that was any type of thoughtful as conscious, and then conscious became a derogatory thing, and then nobody wanted to be that, and then it's how alt-right conservatism always takes things from radical shit and co-ops language and then turns it into some shit that's uncool and you don't ever want to engage with. And they did that. And in the juxtaposition is what you lift up is the ditties and the things that celebrate luxury and that sell more expensive things and sex and just all that type of shit. It's hyper capitalism, and it's euphoric, it's orgasmic, it's titillating, it's all that shit. It's captivating. It makes you feel high constantly, which he fucking turns out, lo and behold, he was. The whole fucking song. High out his fucking gourd. You can see it on his fucking absent fucking eyed face. You can tell. So it's just all this to say, I feel now is the time to go dive more into the artistry, and also the pandemic just telling you how short life is and what the fuck. And then also millennials, I feel is elder the time the future that was sold to us to go get an education for doesn't exist anymore. And I think that most millennials are either in denial of that or really trying to step on the gas and create that nuclear family that they always wanted or some shit and always knew that they would have or something, and they're really in that, and so that's tying them away. But I think that there needs to be a lot of reckoning right now, and I feel one of those things that's happening for me in the midst of quote unquote career changes. I'm debating the importance of career at all. I was killing myself to maintain health insurance, so it's what the fuck? I might as well choose something that's a little less stressful and I can maintain my well-being.
Well, and thankfully in California, we have pretty good healthcare. If you're unemployed, you can get decent healthcare.
I got my therapy right now.
There you go. That's how I get my healthcare. I want to what's this album that you have? You have an album.
Yes,
you're waiting to figure out what to do with it, where to put it, or do you think this is an interesting one? Do you think if you are you trying to be the artist you want to see? Right, we're mad at all these artists who are so fucking in denial about the pandemic, among other things, genocides for some of them. Thankfully, most of the people I really love have spoken out against at least one of the genocides that are going on. Maybe not all of them, but they've at least spoken to the most popular one, which is the Palestinian genocide, I would say, currently in the media or not in the media.
Man.
But like, is there part of you that's like, oh, I just need to become that artist that doesn't exist so other people, because like I know I would be like, hell yeah, fucking check out this record. This guy is speaking to the stuff that nobody else is saying.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, like, part of me, I guess, is trying to do that. I'm really just trying to become me.
Yeah.
And like, because like, I'm trying to be somebody who can confront this moment confidently in the world. And I feel like this whole process has been one of just trying to build towards that. And part of that means this artistry as well. Like, that's one part of it. And if I want to do artistry right now, for me, that would be like performing in a mask and then like trying to create, like as soon as the pandemic hit, I was like, I want to create different ways in which to engage in performance. Like, why the fuck is it always got to be in a building? Why the fuck is it always got to be da-da-da-da-da? We can community should be able to fucking create itself in different ways and outside of capitalistic ass venues and shit. Like, so
also, we got really cool masked artists, or MF Doom, Daft Punk. Like, we got some cool people.
Yeah, cool ass man. Yeah, I was thinking about MF Doom a lot, but I think about like his shit was like the mouth was open. But that makes sense too, because it's like, yeah, man, all that shit.
The mouth
like,
is the only thing blocks now.
Yeah, tell me like that exactly. I've thought about that because it's also like I was like, this is the first time I was ever thinking about embarking on doing this shit. And so the first time I'm ever thinking about embarking on doing this shit happens to be during a pandemic that may be turning into multiple pandemics. And so it's like, well, then I don't know what that means yet. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what the fuck that means yet. So I'm just focusing on, like, I've never really even confidently put anything out because I didn't have the self-esteem to like support and back myself as an artist. And then also I was also like prioritizing like movement work and counseling and healing shit, and also like I didn't know how to balance those. So now it's like, what I want to do is I want to put all my energy into like the creativity shit, and then like pair that with like mutual aid and type of stuff, and then figure out how to fucking sustain that monetarily. I'm in the midst of like trying to put all those things together. It's been a gargantuan task so far.
And I think that's where a lot of us are, is, you know, if we're lucky in you and I's case to have a fairly able body to do what we want to do on the day to day, like, I think we have to figure out how to advocate for the people who don't. You know, we have to be going, okay, well, how do I take my privilege that I do have? You know, I don't have all the privileges in the world, but I do have some, and how do I use those to help those that maybe don't? And then, yeah, how do I still put out some joy in the world? How do I still put out something that isn't me just raging against the Machine? Say, like, speaking of bands that like I'd lost faith in, Rage Against the Machine was a band that I had faith in, and then they toured during a pandemic and never really said much about the pandemic other than, you know, nothing. Honestly, like,
so hard to fight against being rewarded by the system you're fighting against, man.
Yeah.
Shout out to Tom Morello. He still be doing good shit though.
Oh, totally. And like, you know, all the artists that I look up to, like they're putting on super spreader events, but some of them are still saying good things. Like Dave Matthews, for instance, he still speaks out against. He calls for a ceasefire every show he ever does. This year, he's called for a ceasefire, and like, not many people are doing that shit. And so the people who are using their platforms, I have respect for. I just wish we could get a little more in their ears to go like, here's a couple other things you could maybe mention.
All right, yeah.
But I also bring up to point out the idea of like existing as mitigators in multiple cultures. Like, cause like I exist in some of these band fandom cultures where like I'm the only person who's wearing a mask at these shows, but people still are my friends. People still like me. People are like, oh, Dustin's at the show. Like, I'm a nerd about this stuff. And the cool thing that I see happens in those cases is like those people end up being more aware of some of this stuff. And those people then also kind of come to defend me if there are trolls on the internet, like, which is interesting, right? Like, all of a sudden these people who maybe haven't thought about wearing a mask in 2 years are going like, hey, leave Dustin alone. Like, who cares if he's wearing a mask at a show? It doesn't affect you.
Right, yeah. Definitely gonna have to come in steps for a lot of people. It ain't gonna be just like light bulb, and then I'm like fully taking mitigations and back on board. And yes, pandemic life is. I think that's good, man. And it's taking a lot of fucking me being a little bit more, which is what I've been fighting for, to be more relaxed in my own trauma response, like, which means I had to work through hella trauma to get to a more relaxed place. Being able to even tap back in with like friends who I've had, for decades, like, because for me, it's not, I just can't put a mask on and be at your function and like get along like how we was getting along before. Like I don't exist in that reality where that comes naturally to me. The psychic chasm is too great for me to like leap over in that scenario. But I can.
I have to say it to my friends. Yeah. I have to go, the world you have normalized is a eugenic, psychic, a capitalist, dot. I lay it out and I say, like, I can't join you there. And, most of them will be like, well, I don't agree that that's the world I'm normalizing. And I'll say, okay, but I'm still not going to join you there.
Yeah, yeah.
Can we talk about your experience trying to move to LA?
Yeah, I figure we could try to talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah, and like,
yeah.
You and I'll just kind of preface it by saying, you had an experience where you were in the middle of, 2024 trying to move from one place to another, and you were discriminated heavily against for being a mitigator.
Yeah. It's so weird using that terminology in this situation, but it's like something that wasn't technically true. But like, yeah, like my homie, and maybe we'll cut this out, maybe we'll leave it in, but I'll just talk about it just right now. But like, yeah, it's my homegirl. And we had talked about like me moving down there and like kind of like do whatever. And I had been wanting to get out of the Bay. She had like, been like, she got a house. Was like, man, I got this room for you. Come move down. She's been doing this for like 2 years. And like, I was like, never had the opportunity. Like I said, I've been bouncing to these jobs and knew you dig your job. I kept on getting blah, blah, blah. So I was distracted doing other things. But then circumstances up in the Bay suggested like I was burnt out with the Bay. I was done with hell of the interpersonal relationships I had up here. I wasn't feeling inspired or motivated by any of the activism going on that I seen around. I was like just demoralized by having grown up in a place that I liked, that had injected me with all this radicalism and energy. And then I'm looking around and seeing not that, and hella just posturing in the aesthetics of that, and of a radical path. And a phony ass present, and man, I'm just been so hard. But like, yeah, so I was like, I'm ready to get out the bed and move to LA. So I moved to LA. Like, okay, I'll go down there. But then I'm not really alerted to like another person living there, sister living there too, and it's just like, well, we didn't really talk through all that part, and so it was like, I told. Me and my friend had a like healthy conversation. I was like, this is what I do to mitigate COVID. This is what I did.
And I just, what were those? Masking, HEPA filters?
I've been masking in the house at my mama's house like for like the past like 6 months or whatever. And I was like, I'm masking the house if people aren't also taking mitigation and precautions, because I'm gonna do that. So I can't trust that everybody can be safe all the time. So I got to do what I got to do. And so, she had agreed to like test and whatever, and we all did that. And like, before I got there, and everybody was clear or whatever. And then the very first night I get down there, her sister goes to the bar and like comes back, and I'm like, okay, well, that means that I came and we was all unmasked because we all tested clear and everything like that. And then it just shows me that people don't really know what the hell mitigation and precautions are until they're really up in it with you. Like, it's just that much of a psychic cap. They just don't understand that you do this. You have to do it all the time when everybody else is doing it. Never. So like, and so from there, I had to go through this thing where it's like, I have to mask in the house now, like I have to mask, and like, that's inherent, and like that inherently, what I found makes people hella uncomfortable when you're masking indoor in their home with them. Because they have to think about things that they're uncomfortable with. Right. Yeah, they feel like they're being judged. They feel like I'm making it seem like you're infected and dirty and like, or doing something inherently wrong, which you really are. But, we'll have that conversation later. But like, but yeah, so it made her feel really uncomfortable. And I fucking understand it. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, this is what we had agreed on, so I'm trying to do it. I'm also trying to push past my comfort zone to be like, yes, hella uncomfortable for you, masking this house around y'all, not masking too. It's like hella weird. I feel like weird doing it, but I'm still to
Plus,
it.
you have the anxieties of having just left your home for the first time in a long time, coming to a new city, trying to navigate these social situations.
Thinking I'm gonna have a little bit more spaciousness than I had before, but it ends up not being the case. And then, yeah, so it went on for like a week or so, and just they asked me to leave ultimately because it was uncomfortable and like all the things hadn't been discussed and worked through and all that prior, which makes sense in hindsight, but also like, it was what it was. It was unfortunate, but it shows just like how far the chasm is between people who are like actually thinking about this and how long and it's been since other people have really thought about it seriously.
And like, again, it comes back to why this podcast exists in the first place. We're trying to normalize these conversations so people aren't so uncomfortable. Right. We're trying to create a space where we can go, hey, let's have some super honest conversations about what it is to be a mitigator in 2024. So that way, maybe someone who listens to this that is thinking about hosting somebody who is a mitigator to come live with them, they can think about a few more things. Or, again, I just want to make it easier for the super lonely and super isolated people who are trying to continue to exist in this world in a way that just isn't being constantly beaten down already by capitalism and all the shitty things, but on top of that, just going like, hey, aren't we entitled to our peace too and health? Like, you guys claim like health, health and peace, whatever, but isn't everyone entitled to that?
Yeah, no, that was one of the things that got to me too. I was like, the way we're set up, I don't get to love you. I don't get to love in the same way. Like, the ways that I love people are like frowned upon them. Like, me expressing my concern about your health and how you're living because I actually love you and deeply love you. You're not even allowing me to express that in your direction as your friend or family member. That's wild to me. So your version of love is okay to do and live and exist in, but mine is now you've made my type of love wrong and my way of connecting to people wrong. And adversarial. It's like, it's so wild, man. I always get placed in that position. Work, I become antagonistic just by saying we're not being equitable enough. And just like, we can do better is always like, no.
We can, though, right? That's the whole point of all of this, is we can do better, and we have to.
We have to.
And like, we have
Get
to
better or die trying.
Right. Yeah.
And die trying.
You might die trying is that's a Dave Matthews Band song.
You may die.
And like, but we need to keep forging these relationships where we do find the people that make us feel less alone, but also make us feel like, oh, like, I know when I met you, it was at a time where I was figuring shit out too, right? Like, I met you like in May, June, something like that. And like, meeting you helped me see the future better.
Right, like, wow. Yeah.
Like, meeting you made me go, oh, like, it was almost like, hey, I think I could be this guy's friend. First of all, he seems kind of cool.
Right.
Right. And then like, I realized, oh, I did already kind of know you because we had been following each other on Twitter for a bit. And like, I had been resonating with just your anti-capitalist kind of vibes in terms of tweeting. And then when I put that together, I was like, oh, cool. And we were trying to start Clean Air LA, which we're still in the process of getting off the ground. And like, we're doing stuff. It's just like, I'm learning organizing takes time, and getting people, to build solidarity together takes time to make sure everyone's on the same page. And this stuff, it's not easy. It takes work. And like, there's growing aspects along all that too. And I know all I'm hoping through all these little things that I'm doing is that I find more people like you, or we find each other, and we continue to build hope through just like conversations and mutual aid, and just going, hey, like, yes, everybody is going to suck for a while. A lot of people are going to suck and push up back against us, but like, we are strong, and like, we are going to keep pushing because we're surviving on our own level.
Yeah. The hard part too is there's like people that come for us are also like, we're on the same side of in a lot of ways too. It's like the infighting shit that happens on the left or whatever, which it makes it hard but like, it's made it hard to even speak up about anything to this point for me, just like, just like feeling like not ready to speak. And like, I feel like even in this interview, feeling like I was being extra harsh on people or whatever and judging, when it's just like, because I am that way to myself, part of the journey too, just trying to move with more gratitude, just like, and less like, just like dogmatic criticism on people and shit like that. I don't feel ready to express all this to the world right now, but I'm doing it anyway because it feels urgent enough for me to talk about. And I know that I'm gonna stumble and I'm gonna fuck up and I'm gonna fumble and I'm gonna like say shit that don't land right with people, like not gonna cut, and I'm gonna look back at it and be like, damn, I should have said that shit all the way fucking differently, or if I said that, or like that was ignorant. And I'm terrified. I'm fucking scared to fall on my face and be embarrassed and offend people by accident or fucking on purpose or whatever the fuck. Like, I'm scared to do that shit, but I feel like shit is so urgent. Climate collapse, fucking these pandemics, just everything, like Palestine, Congo, Sudan, Tigray, all these fucking, like, our borders, our prison industrial complex, top cities, parts, like, every fucking thing needs to be confronted, and don't nobody want to confront none of it. And I'm just like, I just gotta talk. We gotta start talking about it, because this is, I can't imagine trying to like confront any of the energy. How am I trying to say? I can't imagine trying to like head into any kind of future or like 5-year plan or like, what am I going to do next year without considering all these fucking things. Like, I don't know what future people are building to. I don't know what keeping up with the Kardashian shit they got like addicted to, gotta like live some certain kind of lifestyle or some shit. But whatever the fuck trajectories we were on collectively, like the universe has cracked open some shit, and we are in a different place than we all might have imagined that we would be right now. That has to be talked
about. You saying, you know, kind of the world's kind of coming to this precipice of, we're seeing the collapse more and more every single day visibly, right? We're seeing the capitalism pushing the poor to the poor, just squeezing everybody out. We have no middle class. There's only the 1% and the 99%. We're seeing Mother Nature just going, okay, well, if you're going to keep extracting oil and gas from me indefinitely, well, I'm going to start fighting back. And like these hurricanes that are nonstop, like it's not going to get the ocean temperatures are creeping every day. The less ice that's disappearing every day. And like, I'm not saying all this stuff as a doomer. I'm saying all this stuff as the shit is happening. I can point to it every day. Look at this chemical fire in Atlanta that no one's doing anything about. Look at North Carolina. And that's like literally towns have disappeared practically off the map. Like, this is real things that are happening. And if we don't talk about them, if we just keep going like, well, it hasn't happened to me yet. Well, it's going to come for you and it's going to get you.
Yeah, I mean, this whole 9-to-5 shit, which I'm sure you know, but I fucking didn't know my whole life. Like, that shit is just a treadmill, get you caught, so you can't do nothing. Like, we gonna really, like, I don't know how the fuck we gonna do. I ain't got the answers. I got a lot of questions. I don't got all the answers. But like, we gonna have to confront, reorganize, and rearrange how we deal with shit on a time, space level. Because you know what it is? Because nature doesn't work on capitalism timing. Like, nature works on its own time, and like, you can't confront a mountain being toppled on top of everybody in town. You can't confront that in a 9-to-5. You have to confront that on like this is going to take some years to confront type of deal. Like, and it's going to bar a resource to confront these things. And I don't know if that's possible on our human scale, like to do, like, but that's how my mind works. Like,
I'm optimist enough to think that there are some humans that will survive whatever the next thing is. Like, I'm an optimist enough to believe that, like, hey, maybe the population is only a couple million people in the world at some point, but like, I think that will probably, I don't know what society will look like when that happens, when, you know, there will be contractions of where people can even live at some point. It's like, okay, are we all kind of like, where is that going to be? The highest mountains? Is the water going to rise and we're all going to be just living on the tops of the highest elevations? I don't know, but like, I'm at least optimistic.
Gonna have to hijack bunkers.
We might get there, but like, I've readjusted my personal timeline. Like, I'm not thinking about retirement anymore. I don't think I'll ever get a chance to retire. Like, right now, I'm kind of living, you know, I'm not working right now. And to me, this is like, okay, well, I'm kind of using the money that I had saved for retirement to survive right now, to try to do some things that maybe will, I don't know, connect some more human beings who are mitigating and raise up a culture that we can go, hey, we don't have to be afraid to exist. We can go, hey, I'm over here, you're over there. Let's connect and figure out how to build a culture that lets us thrive as mitigators. Like, and the reason I use the term mitigate for the podcast, mitigation media, is because it's like, I'm not going to make something that says like COVID conscious media, because there's more things to mitigate than just COVID. Like,
yeah, it's real.
Between you and me right now, there is bird flu is cracking off right now. Between I'm in LA, you're in Berkeley, and right now,
and there's cows on the side of the highway.
Dude, that's happening right now, and more every day. California's like, oh, we got 2 more cases, we got 6 more cases, we got 8 more cases, and it's like that number's never going to go down again.
A lot of shit to mitigate.
A lot of shit to mitigate, and it's either like evolve to become a mitigator, or suffer some probably fucked up health consequences at some point.
Yeah, nah, definitely. Just like, I don't know. I mean, I've been very proud of people at this point. Like, I've been very proud of like myself. Shit, I've been proud of myself for like having to pull myself away from all my relationships and making the decision to pull myself back, even though it made other people feel bad and it made me feel bad. Like, because of that, I haven't got COVID this year. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if I had to make hurt some people's feelings, including my own, and that sure feels better than getting COVID and spreading it.
People used to say, well, at least you have your health. You know, people used to say that.
People still say that shit. still fucking ignorantly say that shit and go to the fucking health spa.
Or people used to say, well, your health is the most important thing.
Yep. Got a whole Instagram account dedicated.
Oh my God, there's so many things that people are just like, the disconnect. You're just like, yeah, I know that health is the most, hence the N95 on my face, person. Hence the air filter in my house that's clearing the air. It clears my weed smoke and it clears COVID.
Yeah, man, for real.
Well, I mean,
got mind blown current.
You know, and we talk about these things that gives us breaks from kind of the constant stress of living in these times. It's like, yeah, you and I both smoke weed. You go to sports. I go to music and Magic the Gathering is one of my other things, kind of disconnect and turn my brain off. And like, we need these things, right? Like, as humans, we can't just be consuming the mass death that is constantly being projected to us and being forced upon us, right? It's like, we've lived through a pandemic in our country alone, right? They claim 1.2 something million people have died. But at this point, this year, we're over 1,000. For the past 9 weeks, it's been over 1,000 people dying of COVID every week. And like, we know those numbers are suppressed. My friend who died of COVID was not reported as a COVID death because someone fought to get it off the death certificate. Like, this shit is real. These numbers are suppressed. We know. And like, I know I sound like a fucking conspiracy theorist when I say that shit, but like, you were talking about literally you studied how countries lie to people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And like, that starts with statistics, right? Like, are you telling me?
Yeah, man. These motherfuckers, bro, like, you read any of these motherfuckers, like, I love Chris Hedges as a journalist. He always talks about like propaganda and Edward Bernays and all these motherfuckers who like, all these psychologists that were formed together to create the fucking propaganda to sell World War II and all that shit. And those were all the same people that became the PR heads of all these corporations and shit and sold us all fucking products and everything. It's the same shit.
Well, you know, there's a lot of heavy stuff. What at this point, you know, what do you look forward to on the day to day? Like, when you wake up in the morning, what's the thing that makes you smile? Like, what's the thing that you're like, is it your walks? Is it like, what's the thing that you're like, oh, is it the fact that your mom stress you out? Like, I don't know. Like, what are some things that like make you go, okay, well, at least I'm alive and I'm here and I'm still experiencing the human experience?
Oh man, I'm grateful every day. I mean, that's what I've been working. I'm grateful that I got 2 knees that work still. They hurt more than they used to, but I'm happy that they can help me climb up a hill still. Now I wear knee braces on both of them now. Like, it's just something. My body's working in different ways. My energy levels are different. So I'm just grateful. Like, my eyes still see, my nose still breathes, my lungs still work, all that type of shit. And I'm grateful for all the shit that this pandemic has forced me to look at. Like, would I be on this accelerated timeline if I didn't have to fucking be ripped from all the communities I belong to and like all the things that I held dear to me be fucking flipped overnight? and I had to like face this dark night of the soul. I'm very grateful to have like been forced to confront people pleasing and my avoidant attachment and my ignorance around disability justice and re-engaging my life as an activist after like being demoralized by being an activist in fucking middle school and high school and being burnt out for like the past decade and really focusing on healing. And yeah, I mean, I love life, man. Life has been a lot of suffering and a lot of fucking shit to look at, but like, and it also is like the shit that I've gained from having to suffer through the suffering and make me appreciate the purple leaf on the tree in front of me right now hella much. I'm gonna always love life and be fascinated by it, even with the horror. And you know, it's so funny conversations about hope and faith and all that type of shit, because it should be so funny to me sometimes. It's just like, man, where do you find hope? It's like, motherfucker, I source hope, motherfucker. I am hope. God damn it. Like, I can't, because if I fucking have to find it somewhere, like, that means I can't source it from myself. Like, I need to find it I don't know. It feels like too external of a process. Like, I find hope by having been through hell and back and fucking survived that shit. And every time I do, I have more gems. Because I know how to, and I fucking feel more present and engaged with my spirit and my soul and his life. You know, it's like, yeah, I mean, Chris, he always talks about like we have such a separation from the sacred. We have such a separation from the sacred, and you can't be connected with the sacred while denying suffering. You can't by denying the suffering of real human beings and the earth and animals and all that. You can't really be connected to the sacred like that. And like, America and imperialism works hard to strip everything of every relation to the sacred that exists. Blows the top off of you know it all, what it does. You know? So just every time I get to go through these processes, it gets more and more connected to things that are sacred, just sacred.
I would say, like, I know for me, every time I interact with you, it makes me feel good. Like you give me a little bit of life, and I don't know if that's the empath part of me, but like it in terms of like, oh, I feel you in a way that like, hey, shit, like this guy, we're connecting on some level that I can't quite put words to, but I know that our experience has at least been, we have enough shared things that we're able to connect on a way where when we communicate, there is an understanding where I know no matter what I say, I feel safe with Greg, and I know he's going to have some either understanding or some cool take on something that I say that I go, oh, I didn't even think of that perspective. So that's me saying,
He kind of got cut up in that. But I heard most of it.
All I'm saying is, I appreciate you. You're right. Like, we're both in this journey right now where we're just going, well, what the fuck is next? And you know what? I don't think it's about what's next. It's what's now, right? Like, it's right here. We're looking at it. We're in it.
Yeah. And like, to be honest, man, I felt types of ways of being the second person on this podcast or whatever, like feeling like there's a million other people who need to be having their voices raised up right now. And I hope who do. And I also did want to shout out Mass Black East Day, because I got to tap in with them. They had an internet IG account that I was able to like tap in on the event last month, and I got to pick up this like zine right here. I don't know if you can see it, but yeah, and they had like cool like bracelets and stuff. One says "Fight Mask Man." And
Angela was literally. Angela was printing that mask, that zine that you just held up. Angela was like literally scrolling it at the PDF today.
Yeah, man, that's hella tight. See, it's getting around. That's so cool. I mean, like, I don't even know who made it yet, but that's just. I mean, I think that the whole mutual aid aspect of it is just like, what can we have to like help each other out? Like, what can we pull together? And I just admire, respect, and highly admire what they're doing there. Just everybody. All the effort that everybody's putting in that is doing work on the ground, because it's not easy. It takes a lot of work and a lot of resources.
And like last week I was handing out masks and I printed out a bunch of zines and masks and tests at a disability screening last Friday. And like, I'm just trying to figure out how can I positively affect something. And hey, that's a space that I brought some filters and everybody had masks on and I distributed some masks and I distributed. It's just like, you know, and maybe everyone doesn't use those. Maybe, you know, maybe some people just take them and go home and throw them. But like, we need to be talking about this stuff. We need to make this stuff visible. We can't just exist in a shadow going like, well, we'll just exist in the shadow forever now. And they'll have their unmitigated culture and we'll have our mitigated culture. And it's really like, we need to blend the cultures on a systematic level. But like, I don't have faith at this point in people like you and me changing the systematic side. I have faith right now in people like us sharing information, sharing tools. But like the long term, I don't know if we'll even get to the long term. I don't know if the society as we see it will continue to exist long enough to do the systematic things that I think we need. You know what I mean? Like the air quality shifts in buildings that really should be happening. Like, I don't know if the government is going to exist on the level that it exists in 10 years to be able to even want to do that.
One of those things where you just got to do what you got with what you got until you can't do it no more, until you can't, until the circumstances make it so you can't create and do different things, basically. But yeah, like another place, like more like finding community on Twitter, finding community on TikTok, actually, of people who are doing mitigations and precautions has also been a place of like finding different kinds of community, which as an elder millennial who grew up before like social media and all this stuff has like an continuous odd relationship with social media. Like to believe I can find community online was something I had to learn and like understand. I was like, oh, okay. And so that's been like a thing that has helped me, and it led me to like find you. It's led me to find and like it's seeing awe and just respect. Oh my God, it's scary, man. Like that's why I always fuck with Twitter. It's just words and shit. Putting my like likeness and self all up on shit is way different. But it's also helped me confront this people pleasing shit too. It's like I have to put myself out there. It's like I don't know everything, man. I'm not the smartest motherfucker in the world. I'm like, I admit where I am and what I'm not. Like I'm not trying to be anything I'm not, which is the goal in life. But like, but it's been hella nice to like, I'm just like, to have made it this far into the pandemic and have a reading and like a clear, cogent message to say, which so many people that I found online do. I just have so much respect and admiration and like love and like, yeah, man, all that for people who done that, been that throughout this time. And like, yeah, it's hard. It takes bold people. Like I fucking respect the shit out of people doing this shit.
Well, and I want to speak to your like insecurity of being the second person on this. Like, dude, like, there's no stakes to any of this fucking shit.
Yeah,
dude.
that's real. That's real. Yeah.
Like, and I say that for other people to hear. There's no stakes to any of this shit of the internet, the fucking Twitter. Like, yes, there's stakes because we're trying to fucking save lives and we're trying to raise awareness of things that we can help people's health and help people live healthier, longer lives. But like, at the end of the day, I wanted you to be on here because I knew that talking to you would be like, I knew whatever came out of us connecting would be good and people would hear it and they would some of this will resonate with people. And to anyone who doesn't want to listen to it, they won't listen to it. And anybody who does listen to it is probably going to go there. You know, I don't think anyone's going to make it this far if they don't give a shit. You know what I mean? Like, and your experience is an interest, like, you know, your stories are unique and people need to hear them because I'm sure somebody else has lost housing because they mitigated and that person wants to not feel alone and that story resonates with people. And, you know, a lot of people have left work or jobs or grown up in places where they're like, I thought this place was radical, but this place is fucking normalized as shit.
Yeah, real shit, man. Definitely all that.
Yeah. I want to do the thing that we talked about at one point where we said if we could teach a 101 class, like day one, we're teaching a mitigation 101 class. Like you have an education background. Like what do you think we need? Like let's say it's a 2-hour class, whatever. Like what do you think the topics need to be on a day one mitigation class? Mitigation 101 in session with Greg.
I'd start off with a writing prompt and it'd be like, write for 15 minutes, whatever comes up when you think about the pandemic. Because I doubt anybody's done like a second of reflection in the fucking past few years.
That's
everybody's talking about how much we haven't mourned, how much we haven't grieved, how much we like. No, a lot of us have actually. A lot of us, all we've been doing is that. but most people haven't. And so let's start I don't want you to learn anything. I don't want you to learn anything. I just want you to write your feelings down and share them. That's where I want us to start.
I think that's so real, because I think what you're describing is we need to address the trauma and we need to heal the trauma before we can get anywhere else.
Yeah.
Because we can't have these honest conversations if we're living in the lies of the things that we can't even address, right? It's like, how are we going to say, okay, if you want to spend time with me, we need to test and we need to matter. Like, how am I even going to tell you these things if you can't even agree with me that it was really hard and we haven't dealt with the trauma?
Yeah. And then it's like, yeah. And then you got to start there, because it's like, it's always going to be like, I'm going to have to give you a scroll every time you want to kick it with me. So it just doesn't even make sense to mend certain relationships, because it's like the enormous effort it's going to take from me to communicate what this experience is, just for you to be able to meet me here. I'd rather spend my time with motherfuckers I ain't got to do that with.
Or alone.
Or alone. Exactly.
It's like,
watching football highlights on YouTube.
Right. It's like, at this point, right, society has agreed to, I'll say the 2019ers, or the people who kind of live unmitigated. They've consented to a terms and conditions that we have not clicked okay on yet.
Right.
And we'll never click okay. We'll say, no, we reject these. Here are our terms and conditions.
Yeah.
If you want to spend time with us, you have to check off our terms and conditions.
Yeah.
Which, that's as a motherfucker communicate.
Yeah, it's hard to communicate. But that's something that gives me hope too, though. Thank God I had to go through this shit to learn how to fucking put up a healthy boundary.
Healthy boundaries and forward communication in terms of what your boundaries are is so important right now. Like, you're coming into a situation where you're spending time with someone who you don't know what their boundaries are. What is your protocol these days? Or you're not really stepping into those situations. Like, what is your forward communication look like?
Exactly.
I'm curious. What is
Are you asking me?
Yeah. What is
my forward communication?
Like, say some homie calls you up and is like, "Hey, I haven't seen you in years. Like, let's hang." Like, what's your response to
that? My response has been not responding much. Actually, I haven't. I just tapped in with a friend, an old school friend, decades, a very close connection, and we met yesterday in San Francisco. And I said I wanted to meet up outside to go for a walk or something. So we met up outside, went for a walk outside. And that was me. I did not mask while I was outside with them, all out in the open park. So I felt comfortable with that. Then, actually, I did offer a ride to them if they wanted to mask in the car with the windows open while I masked also. So, and they were down for that, and I felt comfortable with that. And so like that, but all this shit, even that is brand new. I have an idea of like composing an email and just sending out a fucking email. People are like, this is where I'm at these days. I don't know where the fuck you at, but I know motherfuckers been curious about me for a while. So, send out like a little PDF memo or something. They're used to that.
Terms and conditions. That's your terms and conditions.
Terms and conditions, so.
And I think there's power in having the confidence to do that, because otherwise we're living in this kind of like, I'm afraid to communicate to you about my mitigations because I'm afraid you're going to judge me, or I'm afraid you're not going to respect me, and then we're not going to see you at all because, like, I do want to see you. Like, there's all those kind of, like, things that we juggle.
Yeah. Yeah, man. All part of that shit.
Let's see. I think anything else that we didn't talk about that you want to talk about? I feel like our connections are getting choppy, so I kind of want to wrap it up.
A lot. We can wrap it up. I think I said everything, really.
Yeah, I just think the connections are getting choppier, so I'm just like, worried about my internet. Where can people find you? Where does Greg exist on the internet?
I exist on Twitter or @_trapitalism, and also on TikTok, the same shit. I'm just starting that venture journey out. But I feel like TikTok would be a good place to like just put the music out and just like quickly and just like generate it like that. I want to start up a YouTube. I ain't got that yet. So I'll just talk about the places where I am. Twitter and Trapitalism is whatever you call it.
The handle.
The handle, there we go. Yeah, I know. I've never done it before. I've seen this shit a billion times in over 20 years, but I've never been more promoted myself.
It's all right. You don't have to be self-conscious about promoting. Like we'll get to the point where we'll be confident going, oh, what's up? Check out Trapitalism at
Trapitalism is all around. I'm with the tagline.
Greg, I got nothing but love for you. I hope we get to meet up in person someday. We almost did once, but we've met on the internet a bunch of times. So I hope we get to meet someday in person. And until then, keep mitigating. And if you listen to this podcast and you liked it, subscribe, listen to the next episode, listen to the last episode. We're on Spotify, we're on YouTube, we're on Apple, we're on Podbean. And we're going to go out and I think maybe we'll play a song of Greg's right here to go out on.
Hey, there we go. Dancing on the Break is the name of the album.
Yeah. And on that note, I hope you liked my conversation with Greg, a.k.a. Buddha G. I got to be honest, I hadn't heard his record, Dancing on the Brink, before we recorded the conversation, and I have since, and it's awesome. I absolutely adore it. It's like a 9-track hip-hop record that's completely in my Q zone. I've played it a dozen times already this week, and I can't wait for him to release it onto the world at some point. So go follow Greg at Trapitalism on Twitter and TikTok, and I think Instagram as well, so you know when he's ready to release it. Thanks for listening to Mitigation Media. This podcast is produced by myself, Dustin Drury, and Jerry Lynn, with graphics and additional support from Angela Inferreira. All the music in episode 1 was thanks to William White and Glass Beach. The music you hear in today's episode is courtesy of our guest, Gregory Mitchell, aka Buddha G Bahía. Keep an eye on @_Trapitalism for when he drops his record, Dancing on the Brink.
Yeah. You know what it is.